I never thought I'd find myself sitting in the quiet of my living room at 2 a.m., staring at my phone, feeling a cocktail of fear, guilt, and thrill swirling inside me. My name isn't important. What matters is the story I need to tell, the confession I've carried for months now. It all started innocently enough. She wasn't looking for trouble, at least not consciously. She was just curious, playful, and lonely in ways only she knew. I remember the first time I noticed her messages pop up on my Facebook account. Her profile picture, a confident smile framed by soft curls, caught my attention, but it was her words that drew me in. I thought they were harmless at first. Compliments, jokes, shared memes, but gradually, they became more intimate. She would text me late at night, the hours when the world was asleep, and a certain freedom took over her tone. "Why are you still awake?" she asked one night. Her words felt casual, yet they carried an unspoken invitation. I tried to ignore the flutter of excitement in my chest. After all, I had a husband, a life that I had sworn to be loyal to. But temptation has a way of creeping quietly into the cracks of one's conscience, and hers found the perfect opening. Weeks passed, and the messages became bolder. I tried to rationalize it as harmless flirting, just an outlet for the stress of daily life, I told myself. But there was something addictive about her presence, the thrill of secrecy that pulsed through my veins every time I felt my phone vibrate. One evening, she suggested meeting in person. "A casual coffee," she said. "Just a friendly meet-up." The words were innocent enough to make me think I could handle it. But I was wrong. That night, as I drove to the quiet cafe she had suggested, I felt a surge of adrenaline mixed with anxiety. The streets were nearly empty, the city's neon lights reflecting off the rain-soaked asphalt. I remember thinking, this is insane. I'm married. What am I doing? But once I saw her, smiling and waving at me from the corner of the cafe, every rational thought evaporated. There was no malice in her smile, no cruelty, just a magnetic energy I couldn't resist. We sat and talked for hours, laughter spilling between us like a dangerous current. Every word she said seemed layered with hidden meaning, every touch accidental yet electric. The night stretched on, and eventually, I followed her suggestion to go somewhere quieter, a place where no one knew us. One drink led to another, the tension built, and before I even realized what was happening, my hands were tracing the lines of her body, and our lips met in a way that felt both forbidden and inevitable. By the time I returned home, the city streets were nearly empty, and my heart was pounding in a rhythm of guilt and exhilaration. I slipped into bed beside my husband, pretending I had been out for work-related errands, while my mind replayed every touch, every whispered word. The thrill had come with a heavy price, the weight of secrecy, a burden that I knew I would carry for the rest of my life unless I told someone. That night marked the beginning of my secret life, a series of decisions I would later regret and yet, strangely, crave. I wasn't proud. I wasn't seeking admiration or approval. I was simply being human, flawed, impulsive, and dangerously drawn to a fire I shouldn't have touched. The following weeks became a blur of secrecy and longing. Every message from her was a spark, igniting a fire I didn't want to extinguish. I kept my husband in the dark, maintained the facade of the perfect partner, while secretly diving deeper into a world of lust and adventure that existed only in the shadows. Each night we planned our encounters meticulously. She lived a few towns over, so the risk of being recognized gave an adrenaline rush I couldn't get from any other aspect of my life. Every time I left my house, I felt a thrill coursing through me, like stepping on the edge of a cliff, knowing the fall would be both terrifying and intoxicating. We explored each other's fantasies with a freedom I hadn't known existed. Nothing was off limits. Every touch, every kiss, was a careful negotiation between desire and danger. I remember one night vividly. We found ourselves in her apartment, the city lights spilling across the walls, her eyes dark with need. Our hands moved over each other in a rhythm that felt both urgent and deliberate. Clothes became a distant memory, whispers replaced words, and every sensation was amplified by the knowledge that what we were doing was forbidden. But with every thrill came a pang of guilt. Driving home afterward, I would grip the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white, questioning what kind of person I had become. I was betraying someone who trusted me implicitly, someone who had given me everything, and yet I continued. There was a sick thrill in it, yes, but also a profound loneliness, a gnawing awareness that no matter how intensely I experienced the moment, it could never fill the void growing inside me. Our meetings became more frequent, the secrecy more complex. I began to lie to my husband more boldly, late nights, sudden errands, vague explanations about work or friends. Each lie felt like a knife twisting deeper into the fabric of our life together. And yet, there was something liberating about it, too, the intoxicating power of living two lives simultaneously, each one feeding a different part of me. The risk, however, was not just emotional. She had a way of making me feel vulnerable, a subtle reminder that if anyone found out, everything I held dear could crumble in an instant. There was a darkness in her eyes when she looked at me, a silent acknowledgement that we were dancing with fire. And maybe that's why I kept going. There is something undeniably human about wanting what you can't have, about craving the very danger that threatens to destroy you. Eventually, the thrill of secrecy began to weigh heavily on my soul. Nights that once felt exciting became haunted by guilt and fear. Every time I returned home, the sight of my husband's face, calm and trusting, felt like a mirror reflecting my own betrayal. One evening, after a particularly intense encounter with her, I found myself staring at the ceiling of my bedroom, tears threatening to spill. I realized that this double life couldn't continue without consequences, emotional, moral, and perhaps even legal. I had to make a choice, continue to chase this fleeting desire or confront the reality of my actions. It was then I decided to write the confession, not for public consumption, but for the one person who deserved to know everything. My fingers trembled as I typed, recounting every detail, every lie, every secret rendezvous. It was the hardest thing I had ever done, to be completely honest, to strip away the protective layers of deception and expose the raw truth beneath. I didn't know how he would react. Would he hate me? Would he leave? Or worse, would he silently carry the betrayal like a poison in his heart, slowly corroding the love we had built? The uncertainty was unbearable, and yet, I knew that holding it in would destroy me from the inside. Confession became a lifeline, the only way to begin healing the guilt that had taken root so deeply. When I finally handed over the confession, the world seemed to stop. My husband read my words in silence, his expression unreadable, his eyes calm yet heavy. I waited, heart hammering, bracing for the storm I had invited into our lives. But instead of anger, I found understanding. Instead of rage, there was patience. He didn't condone what I had done, yet he recognized my humanity, my mistakes, my remorse. He allowed me to speak, to explain not as an excuse but as a testament to the confusion, loneliness, and temptation that had led me astray. Our conversations stretched long into the night, peeling away layers of hurt and betrayal, exploring the cracks in our marriage that I had ignored for so long. We confronted uncomfortable truths about ourselves, our desires, and the fragility of trust. And slowly, in that vulnerable, raw space, we began to rebuild. I had feared that this confession would end everything, but instead, it became a turning point. A moment of reckoning that allowed us to confront not just my betrayal, but our collective failure to communicate and nurture the intimacy we had once taken for granted. Forgiveness wasn't immediate, nor was it easy. But it was genuine. My husband's ability to look past my mistakes and see the remorse and vulnerability beneath was a lesson in the resilience of love. It reminded me that even the deepest wounds can heal if honesty, empathy, and effort are present. We worked together to rebuild trust, piece by piece, moment by moment. There were setbacks, moments of doubt, and lingering guilt, but each day brought a renewed commitment to honesty and intimacy. I learned to channel my desire for excitement into deeper emotional connection, and he learned to express his vulnerabilities more openly. In the end, I realized that my confession wasn't just about seeking forgiveness, it was about reclaiming my own integrity. By being honest, I allowed love to survive, and in doing so, discovered that redemption is possible even after the darkest of mistakes. Our story didn't end with betrayal, it ended with honesty, healing, and a love that had been tested and survived. And that, I think, is a lesson worth sharing. In the end, this story isn't just about betrayal, it's about redemption, forgiveness, and the power of truth. We all make mistakes, some louder than others, but what defines us isn't the fall, it's how we rise after it. Her confession was her breaking point, yet it became the start of her healing. Her husband's forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was love in its purest, most painful form. If this story touched you, reminded you of life's fragile choices, or gave you hope that love can survive even the darkest nights, then you already understand its message. Dizzy, thank you so much for watching and supporting this channel. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real-life confessions, emotional relationship stories, and true infidelity tales that open hearts and start conversations. Your support means everything, and remember, sometimes the most broken hearts tell the most powerful stories. Heart, this story is inspired by real-life experiences and shared for emotional and educational purposes only. All characters, names, and events have been altered to protect privacy. Viewer discretion is advised, as the content may contain mature relationship themes.